Got my suit on and everything. Got my shirt ironed. Got a little powder on my face.
You put makeup on? That's not fair. That's why I'm so bright.
My wife did it.
I should have had my wife do some makeup on me.
All right, getting to get it on Facebook. Make sure that's going, and then we'll jump on into this. How's everybody doing tonight? You are going to be able to ask questions, and you'll be able to. We already got some chat going right now. Y'all are fancy. Thank you, Larry. Can't disagree with you there. You can also use the Q&A function. Looks like it's up and running on Facebook, and so we're about ready to roll with this, okay? All right. Here we are. What a week it's been. You know? What a week. But let's kick it off officially. Looks like we got about 100 people in here. Expect a pretty good audience tonight, and I appreciate everyone who's tuning in. People saying thanks for doing this. No, thank you. We have a lot of fun stuff to get through tonight. So we usually, when I do this, it's like I go straight into it. So Zoom's a little bit different, but we're going to roll with it. So good evening and welcome to another episode of the Digital Orthodontist Live. I'm your host, Dr. Kyle Fagala, and I am joined by none other than my good friend and co-founder at Neon Canvas, Alex Rasmussen. Rasmussen. I feel like Rasmussen sounds like a good baseball player name.
Yeah, baseball player. Or if I was in Denmark, I could, be a president or something like that.
Oh man, you'd be killing it over there.
For sure, yeah.
So on the show tonight, we're going to discuss quite a few things. We're going to demystify virtual visits and virtual consults. I think that's been the topic of discussion for a lot of people this week. I feel like I've seen a lot of what I would call misinformation about it, a lot of objections that I don't necessarily agree with, and I think also just the idea that there's, some sort of like only one way to do these things. And so we're going to talk about, I've already shared my workflow in the Digital Orthodontist group if you've not seen those. And I just picked those up, and I think you can do it any which way, but I think that there is a real key to all this that we'll talk about. We're also going to talk about adjusting social media during COVID-19. You do not need to do social media exactly the same as you were doing it. I've seen some people make that mistake. Should you decrease your ad spend? I think that's a good question that Alex is going to help us with. And then we are going to do, I hear myself. Is that you? And then we're going to do some updates on a digital meeting. You may not have heard about this because we have worked our butts off on it this week. And we've had an idea of having a meeting for some time, but the idea of a digital meeting came to us, and we have put together a meeting in about a week and a half. So it's been some week. I don't think I've worked this hard since dental school. But if you're a watcher and a regular watcher of the show, you know what time it is, and it's time for our theme song. So let's play that. And I have a fancy new mic that I am very proud to have. So if I sound a little bit more buttery than I normally do, it's this new Shure mic.
Buttery. That's a good one.
I'm not unsure. I'm sure that this is a good mic. So look, I know these are weird times. It's weird times for like all of us. COVID-19 in about 72 hours sort of changed everything. And I had, my 5 stages of grief with COVID-19, I think. And I think we probably all did. And one thing it's literally changed is that now everyone is doing live interview videos. I thought I was special. I'm no longer special. Now everyone's doing it. So I had to get in line and start using Zoom like everybody else. So, of course, it's also impacted how every orthodontist practices. States are a little different, but it's affected all of us for sure. It's affected me. Last Wednesday, I had to decide to close my office. Hardest decision I've ever made as a business owner. But I want to hopefully not just focus on the negative. I want to give you some positive tonight. And I keep coming back to this quote. This is from Dale Carnegie. It says that most of the important things in the world have been accomplished by people who have kept on trying when there seemed to be no hope at all. And I think that's what's sort of guiding me right now is I'm super impressed at how the orthodontic community has come together. All these people working on these 3D printed masks, Mark Causey and Christian Growth and Jason Cope. And there's a few others that have been working on that. That's incredible. I mean, what a way to spend our talents. And it's like, you give a, F1 Formula car nothing to do and they want to race. So it's been great to see all these people coming together like that. People doing digital happy hours together. I think that's awesome. So shout out to the digital happy hour people. And just sharing advice on webinars and inside groups. It's been awesome. And I know that together we can get through this. Another thing that's changed, and this is what we're going to mostly talk about tonight, is how we're seeing patients. And so Neon Canvas, as soon as this kind of all went down, within a day, it's easy when you co-own the company, they prioritize me. But they got me up and running for virtual consults, which has been great. And we've been doing virtual visits for about a week now. We've sort of figured it out, we think, and gotten a lot better at it. And so it's become a huge part of our practice. But we'll get to that in a second. So first off, sorry for that long intro, Alex, but how are you doing, man?
I'm doing great. Hanging in there, working long hours, which is a blessing. I mean, there's a lot of people out there that aren't working, and a lot of you guys watching us have been unable to work. And I think, like you said, Kyle, it was, and I almost had this conversation. It was almost 2 weeks ago. I sent you a message and I thought, wow, like when you're not busy, we're going to put you to work at Neon Canvas. And I don't think you had any idea just how much and what that would look like. But I think it's been great because one of the things that we've always tried to do is love on the orthodontic community as much as we possibly can, give them as much content as we can, and just be a resource for people. And so I think now, and more than any other time since we started this business, it's needed. And we've definitely appreciated all the work that you put in. So, and a lot of people don't know how this business even came together, so Dr. Kyle and I, it was almost 6 years ago, started working together. I was heading up a digital marketing division of another agency. And I had built up a book of business through Kyle's referrals of 10, 11 orthodontists. And we were going to Grizzlies games and hanging out together. Families were getting closer, going to the same school together. And, we had sort of dropped it in the bucket a couple of times. What if we had a brand that just focused on orthodontists and did this? And the more and more I fell in love with the practices that we were working with and marketing orthodontists. Really, I found myself, that's all I wanted to do. I just wanted to focus on that. And so out of that, Neon Canvas was born. And here we are, this whole time you've been, right here, putting out great content, a huge part of Neon Canvas, and at the same time running an ortho practice. And really, our team has grown an amazing amount. At the same time, your practice has been growing. So where we started with 4 of us, now we're up to 30 people that are working on content and design and ads and just the entire marketing arm of what a practice would need, and then what that looks like at scale for nearly 100 clients across the country. So it's been quite the blessing. I'm really happy to be here, and I appreciate you having me on the show.
Yeah, man, I'm glad to have you on here. You actually appeared, for the trivia lover out there, he actually appeared on an AAO episode. AAO Sunday of last AAO. It was after the Relapse concert, and I still had eyeliner on. There was a Cole Johnson cameo in that episode. Good stuff. Dan Ryan's asking if we have any openings. We'll get back to you, Dan. We're grateful for all the Neon Canvas clients who are on here too. And, we've got a new thing that we're going to be doing. And it's and Alex, you said very sweet things about me. So thank you. I would echo those same back at you. It's been a great 4 years together, and it's only going to get sweeter from here on out. I think we got some really cool stuff planned. But I have coffee mugs that have been made up with the Digital Ortho Live, which it's mirrored. And then Alex has his. And we're going to do a drinking game. So Brian asked to make sure that I did this. And if Brian, if you're watching this now or you're watching this later, great idea. But we started this with Glenn Krieger on the last episode that I did back when we could be in the same room together. That was fun. And we're going to pick a word that when we say it, we're going to have to drink. Alex, what's a good word? What are we going to say a lot tonight?
I think we're likely to say, can it be 2 words together, digital marketing? Or marketing. If we say the one, I say
what about digital or marketing? Anytime we say, like somebody said digital and guessed it before we even, that's hilarious. Dan, you're on point tonight. Dan gets my QP of the night. All right. So when we say digital, we'll take a drink. Now, for those of you, someone said virtual. If we say virtual, digital, marketing, if you want to drink, just drink whenever you want. I'm drinking water tonight because I get spit that wants to build up on my lips, and there it was. So we'll drink to that. Just water, though. Just water. So let's jump into the meat of this, because I know you don't want to hear us just gab for an hour. And this will last about an hour. But before we jump in the discussion on virtual visits and consults, Alex really is an expert on digital marketing, and I think that's applicable to all of us right now. And so I just want some general advice, Alex, you have from a marketing perspective for doctors right now in a time like this. What would you say?
Yeah, I think the most important piece of it is to continue to make rational decisions, and by that, I mean, don't let your CPA make your marketing decisions. You should let your CPA work on your taxes and your books and not tell you when to be ramping up your budget or ramping down your budget. Now, if cash is a concern, then there's something there that we can talk about, right? There's ways to move marketing away from maybe Facebook right now, which would be a little bit more tone deaf, and move it into Google AdWords, where that's a targeted approach. Someone is looking for an orthodontist or braces, Invisalign right there in your area. So you want to be available for that lead and available for that market share. So making those rational decisions, and then not making any fear-based decisions, right? So if you're doing something out of fear, you definitely want to take a deep breath and look at it after a day, a two, a week, and not make that decision right away, because things are changing so fast. Information is changing so fast that if we can just focus on what the next 3 months look like, sustain our current AR, and then use these techniques we're telling you with virtual consults tonight to keep some business coming in, even if it's not the level you saw in Q1, Q2 may be flat or a little bit down, but we really believe Q3 and Q4 are going to be huge here. I think every economist is predicting that, because this wasn't a slow dive into a recession. This was, everybody told us we couldn't, we had to stay home in areas all across the country. So it's unprecedented, and we really believe that it's going to rebound pretty strongly. The other thing you want to do is, while other people are moving out, you want to be moving in, because all of a sudden it's cheaper for you to move in. Warren Buffett had just told his shareholders this just a couple of weeks ago, that there's never been a better time to be moving into the market. So we definitely want to be watching what those big guys are doing right now. And if they're doubling down to gain market share in areas that are extremely valuable, as you know, your space is and orthodontics is, now is definitely the time to be doing it, because you're going to be able to gain more market share for less money than you could ever do it 2 months ago or even 3 weeks ago. So there's never been a better time to work on your business. Many of you, whether you're seeing 25 patients a day or 125 patients a day, have very, very busy days. And you don't often get a chance to sit around and work on your business. So there's never been a better time for you all to dive all into the aspects of your business, whether that be expenses that are unneeded. Not marketing is not one of those, but maybe you've got tools that you're not utilizing. Maybe you needed to change over a practice management software. Maybe you needed to get digital and you haven't had time for your staff to do that. There's so many things you can be doing right now to be productive in your business and making it stronger when you come out of all this. So
the drinking game's kind of obnoxious, because you just said digital. So you have to take a drink.
I know. I feel like I need to drink.
And I'll just say to your point about, working in the business, working on the business and not in the business. As a busy orthodontist, we have days where we see 80 and 90 and 100 and that sort of thing. There's no working on the business. You're in survival mode, and you're trying to take care of everyone, and, customer service and all that. There's no getting my to-do list done, maybe at lunch, but I'm usually going home and watching Curb Your Enthusiasm and sitting in the massage chair. But it's been nice. And also, I don't know if you can tell, I've probably lost 4 pounds just from stress this week, and I've missed 2 lunches. So that was always the secret, was I just needed to work through lunch. But I don't have a schedule anymore. So it's I don't even know how to deal with it. But I've gotten so much done this week. So, you got to take the good with the bad. But go ahead. You were going.
No, I mean, that it segues perfectly into the last point before we jump into virtual visits, is that there are ways that you can keep yourself busy seeing patients right now. You could be trying to stay in contact with your patients right now on so many levels. The HIPAA restrictions have been eased, so you can be texting and calling and Facebook messaging and using your staff to reach out to patients. Try to get as many of those visits that are on your books now taken care of virtually, so that you don't come back to a nightmare of a schedule. And I'll let Kyle really dive into that some more. So let's talk about virtual visits first, I think, before we talk about consults.
For sure. Yeah. It's funny on Facebook. It's maybe a 45 seconds behind or some sort of delay. And Glenn had a great drinking game word for this COVID season, and that was unprecedented, which is so true. But we're going to go with digital, virtual, and marketing. Okay. And you know what? Let's add unprecedented into it if you want to take a drink. So just try and make it through the rest of this interview if you can. All right, so virtual visits. So let's get serious for a second. If you have not seen it, this is the little workflow that we put together this week that I wrote up and that Neon Canvas designed and we put out into the group, perfectly free. And, we want it to be something that's a resource to everyone. And part of that is just to continue on in kind of this way of wanting to share with orthodontists. And I've been doing that since I got into this, because I felt like orthodontists share with me. I started from scratch. It's like 6.5, 7 years ago. I know I'm not supposed to touch my face. Sorry. And I just felt like giving back, and it's been something that I've enjoyed doing. And so another reason is that I feel like there's a lot of confusion in the market over how you do this stuff. And I think we're being sold widgets and these tools, which some of which are great, and let's just say all of which are great. But I think there's some sort of, mysticism that's surrounding these things, and that I don't know that it's really all that complicated to do this. And granted, people have been doing virtual visits for years. David Sarver, who I'll talk about later, he's been doing it for several years because he has patients coming to him from like New York and Florida and places like that. So he's had to do it. Most of us, we have not needed to do this. And so it's now being thrust upon us. But I firmly believe that this is an important thing for all of us. And I've heard a lot of objections. We'll get into some of those. But I guess to sort of set the stage, I think there's three things and three main goals as orthodontists during this time. Okay, I think the first goal is to keep our AR up as much as possible, or said another way, keep people paying us on their monthly payments. We are blessed in the way that we have recurring payments, and so that should float most of us during this time. And I think most of us, if not all of us, are going to be just fine. I think there's going to be government things in place, but also the fact that we have people on recurring payments is huge for us right now versus like a dentist or someone else. And so I think virtual visits help instill confidence in us and our practice for patients. And I think also it helps them, to make some progress. The second thing that we need to do is to create as much new production as possible, like Alex said. And even if we don't create the production in the now, we certainly connect with the patient in such a unique way that it only stands to reason that we're going to be able to start them later. To me, it's very similar to an observation pool. And I think of it like you're filling a pond with fish. And I grew up in Arkansas, so if that reference doesn't make sense to you, when you fill a pond, the fish are small and you wait for them to grow until you want to catch them. And so there may be a 6-month, delay here on these, but to me, it's better than just sitting around and doing nothing. And then number three, you want to continue to connect with your patients and your audience online and to continue to tell stories. I think there's a great opportunity for that. And in fact, you should probably be using social media even more, just in a little bit different way, which we'll get to. And so again, I've uploaded this workflow, so I'm not going to go through all the dirty details of exactly what we're doing. And again, I don't think it's really anything that fancy. I mean, it's basically like, imagine if you saw all the patients you normally see, but you saw them virtually and you connected with them virtually. What that does not mean is, no, you do not have to video chat with every single patient. As the doctor, no, you do not have to do, video chat with every patient. I think it's like the first thing. It's the thing I hear most commonly. That would take all day. Now, if you want to do that, I know Chris Feldman is like calling all his patients. I think that's fantastic. His patients already love him. They're just going to love him even more. For me, the way that we're approaching it, in short, is the assistants who are working remotely, because we only have 2 in our office to see emergencies. They are going through a column apiece. Let's say you have a 6-column practice. Each assistant that's at home takes a column. They call through it. And we work a couple days in advance. I talked to Heather Hopkins today, and she was saying that they work, a week or 2 in advance. And so there's no reason not to do that, because what you'll find is there's a little bit of delay in when people reply. Alex, were you going to say something?
No, I knew that we had a client right now that's actually doing some of this stuff, and we were going to have a little chat with her too. So you could probably make Candace a panelist there.
Here in just a second. Let's see.
Yeah.
All right, let's see.
Yeah, but no, exactly along the lines of what you're saying. I mean, this is an opportunity for you to stay in touch with your clients. Not only is this going to be a big deal for AR, I mean, in keeping those coming up, but you're going to know the patients that need help first. You're going to be in a position to help them. And you're also going to keep that schedule rolling. That's the most important thing we talked about, Kyle, is that you don't want to come back to 200, 300 missed visits that you got to make up and prolong that treatment. I mean, if you can cut that in half in 30%, you're going to be way more productive when you come back from this.
Yeah, I think that's another huge thing. And it's also to keep people from having to worry that they're missing out on something, or that progress is not being made, or that, their treatment's going to take a lot longer. I just think it's really smart altogether. And as a doctor, based on this workflow, my experience day to day with virtual visits is about 20 to 30 minutes of work. And so just like you would in a busy practice, your assistant, we try and treat them like residents. I learned that from Jeff Kozlowski. And they look, at the patient. So the patient sends them in photos. You do need to have that kind of scripted out to explain how to get the photos. They're not that hard. You'll be surprised at how good the photos can look when people send them in. And because these HIPAA laws have been lifted by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, you can really use whatever you want within reason, anything that's private. Now, it depends on your state laws, and we're not lawyers. This is not legal advice, okay? But in most states, you can use different programs that you weren't able to previously. We'll talk about the software that I use later. But the short version is the assistant gathers all the data. They put it into the practice management software. They make preliminary notes for that visit and the next, and then they alert me. And so I go through on Slack once a day, and I make notes and send it back. If they have an urgent one, they message me directly. And it's really not that hard, and I've been really pleasantly surprised at how well I can see the teeth, and I can make adjustments to elastic wear. I can make notes for next visit. And yeah, sometimes it's like, well, there's not a whole lot we can do, but hey, we can work on the brushing. We'll send you some wax. We'll send you some elastics. I mean, we have more ability to see patients and make adjustments and purposeful changes than really probably any other dental profession. And so I think we're blessed in that way as orthodontists for sure. Let's talk software. You want to talk software real quick?
Absolutely.
And then we'll get Candace on here when we're talking about consults.
Yeah,
how can the
absolutely.
assistants run their columns from home legally? What level of supervision is that? That's a great question. And I had someone else ask me this. And again, this is one of those sort of, it's one of these developing kind of periods of time. What I would say is that everything that's being communicated to the patient is from me. And so they're relaying the information that's from me. So what I would say in all this with teledentistry, I mean, this is stuff that people have been doing for a while. And I feel comfortable with it, that I'm overseeing the care, and that largely what these are sort of care calls. They're calling in, checking how your bracket's feeling, anything hurting you. If we have emergencies, hey, we need to get you into the practice because we can see, emergencies for pain or for swelling. We want to make sure that we figure those out. But then it's also to be able to make some purposeful changes remotely, which people have been doing for a long time. So I think those are great questions.
To jump in on that, Kyle,
Yep.
I think this is definitely a situation where HIPAA restrictions have been relaxed to do and ask forgiveness later. I think there's no doubt that these are trying times, and that any regulation authority or anybody that would want to come down on you for that could be completely understanding of you if you wanted to take care of your patients. I think the other most important piece of that is Kyle's finding a way to keep a lot of his staff busy right now. And I know that's been a concern for a lot of people. And with essentially the $2 trillion stimulus package that has come down, one of the things that they're wanting to do, if you're going out and you're seeking some of these funds, or, if you're some of these liberties with taxes and that sort of thing, is that you retain your staff. And I think, something else Kyle can talk about is just, what does your culture look like, right, in the next 2-3 months if you had to lay those staff and bring them back on? So while I think that's a great question about the assistants, right now I think Kyle and I are leaning all into how can we take care of our patients, including our family assistants.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's one of those things that's going to be up to each doctor. I feel perfectly comfortable with the idea. And it's not something that other doctors have not done for a long time. I will say realistically, from like and I don't want to get too into the weeds on this, is that I do think those things need to be outlined much better. One of the objections that I've heard is, and maybe this does get in the weeds, but how is this any different than what a direct-to-consumer aligner company is doing? And I reject that entirely, full stop. I don't think it has anything whatsoever in relation to that, because I'm a doctor that is already started the case. I'm overseeing the case, and they will be coming back to see us again. Okay. So this is not something that doesn't have a physical exam to start and full records and informed consent. This is just ongoing treatment that we are helping maintain and make good recommendations to. To me, if you're going to argue what's better or worse for the patient, to me, it would be much worse just to leave them out there hanging around with no input whatsoever from the doctor. So the fact that every patient's able to get input from me as the doctor, I think, is beautiful. Now, someone asked, why create twice the work with Slack? I'm not creating twice the work. And let me clarify. We are using our practice management software. The notes are going in there. All that's going into Slack is we have a virtual visits channel where they put the name of the patient. So then I can go at one time and go look the patient up on the practice management software. Again, the workflow can vary. It doesn't really matter. It's just what works for you. Okay, so let's get into this software, and I'm going to name the softwares we use, but understand there's a lot of great options. This is not us trying to pick. We're not like, this is not something where we're like, trying to pick our buddies or whatever. This is what I happen to have. We were already using Rhinogram, so we use that, and it's nice because it works with TOPS Ortho. And then when they look up a patient, it goes straight there and they can text them and we know who it is that's texting us. But I'm hardly even in Rhinogram. That's mostly my team that's in there and getting things. What is that? Oh, this is a virtual consultation page. Yeah. So there's also this, and this is our virtual consultation page, which also works for virtual visits. And what you need is you either have a website or you have like a PDF or you have a link to a video. It's actually a video, very good video from Smile Snap. They're a company that has an app that you can use that I've heard works great. Again, another tool that you can use. Their video is fantastic. And we've shot some videos and I've seen other people, Amanda Gallagher, Dovi's taken some videos, some other people just walking patients through how to do this. And it's going to take the patient 5 minutes. It's not that big of a deal. And they can get pretty good photos. And so you've seen the plastic spoons. They need to wash their hands and take these photos. And so they're going to send you 5 to 8 photos. And with that, you can see what you need to see. How they send it is up to them. They can email it. They can text it. We have this form where they can upload it. I think that's kind of nice and clean. And I think I prefer it for patient intake. It's sort of, though, again, it's like all mystified. And what I would say is, it's not that complicated. Like, I think that the big thing is just that you do it and that you offer it. I like the website because that's where leads are going. And that's where our Google ads and Facebook ads are pushing people, is to that specific page. And it's simple. But man, it could be as simple as, hey, email us your photos at this Gmail that I set up for free yesterday. Like, it doesn't have to be that complicated, again, because HIPAA laws have changed. Now, before that, you really needed to be using something that was HIPAA compliant. And so that might change when we get back to normal. We just don't know.
I think it's important to point out, Kyle, here that, I mean,
yeah,
we are the Switzerland of virtual consultation programs, right? So we think it's important that you're doing it. We don't think the way that you're doing it is extremely important right now. These systems are going to come out and we'll recognize soon which are the best systems, and you'll know within your practice what works for you. We don't want there to be any roadblocks to starting this. And that's why we just showed you that very simple implementation that we've used with no virtual consultation system.
How did I miss Anil that said, is there a digital way that I can button Alex's shirt? Meow, risque after hours TDO. I don't know. I'll leave that up to Alex. That's great. How did I miss that? No, keep it unbuttoned. It looks good. Someone asked if I'm using Smile Snap. No, I'm not. But again, I've heard great things about it. I was already using Rhinogram. They're similar in that way, but they're both great programs. I know we have Neon Canvas clients that have used both. And again, to me, it's more the concept. I think don't get stuck on the implementation exactly. Just conceptually say, hey, we're going to give this a try. Why don't we try this one day? We'll see how it goes. The worst thing that you could do is you try it and then you don't do it anymore. But anyway, I think we've made our point. So why are we doing virtual visits? I get that question. To me, it's a mix of patient care and practice management, which we've alluded to. I think we're trying to avoid that challenge where we have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of recalls to reschedule when we need to be prioritizing the D-bonds that have gotten backed up and the bondings that we need to prioritize for cash flow and production, just being realistic. Obviously, there's some adjustments that we need to prioritize, but your 8-week that's already like figure eighted or, whatever, like that can go a little bit further out. It's perfectly fine. If I'm able to make some purposeful adjustments to their elastic wear, that's even better. So I don't feel conflicted about that at all. And then I would say shifting on into virtual consults, and then we'll try and bring Candace on and see what her experience has been like, if she's still there. I know she's probably asleep now. But I think virtual consults, don't think of that as all that different. It's basically virtual visits with some video. And so we're using Zoom, and you could do Zoom with virtual visits if you wanted to. Candace is awake, thank goodness. But consults, I think, need video because it's your first time meeting someone. And Zoom, it's awkward the first 34 seconds you do it, and then after that, it's fine. And you know what I love about Zoom? It's free, okay? It's really easy. My TC, she schedules all the consults for that day, and that process takes a couple days. So people got to send in their photos. They may not want to do it right now, but as more people are sheltered at home, they're going to be more likely to want to do this. And why I think it's good is it gives, like, a mom that's at home with a long to-do list, it gives her something to do. It also gives the young, professional male that is working from home now an opportunity to come in when they might not otherwise be able to. And I think it's a really great offering that's high service. And then honestly, I'll just tell you, if you've not done one, my experience in the room, I think they're actually less awkward than real, like physical consults. Now, granted, there's limitations. And so there's always people that bring objections into this. Like, well, how are you having someone sign a contract or start treatment without a full, treatment plan in place? And yes, of course, you cannot do everything that you could do in a physical exam. And there will be a physical exam before we put any braces or Invisalign on. So there will have to be that. There'll have to be full x-rays, full photos. I will reassess the treatment plan. I'll make adjustments as needed. And we tell every patient that. So I don't see it as any different than the 2-step consult that we've all, remember learning about. And even some offices that would do a 3-step consult. So this is like not that different at all from that, I don't think. So what are some other common objections? People will take crappy photos. Sometimes, yes, that's true. I've seen some really crappy photos. What I found, though, is that people, they can show you their teeth on the Zoom. So I've had them turn to the side, I've had them smile, I've had them bite down, and I can really see what I need to see. No one wants to do these. That's definitely not true. And no one will start. That's also not true. We've had a lot of people start and commit to treatment. And again, I have no vested interest in you doing virtual consults. We have a little page that we've given to clients and it's helped them. But my vested interest in that is that our profession thrive during this time where we otherwise can't do anything. And so I think it's very important that we try to see what we can do to help. And I think it not only helps us in our profession, but it also helps the patients and the prospective patients that are out there. All right. So I'm going to step off my soapbox. And that's
I think those are all
virtual consults.
I think they're all really good points. Yeah. Because, a lot of people are asking me, is this the right time to be pushing virtual consults? Is it this, is that? What we want you to do is focus on the people who are already searching for you. These are people who are looking for an orthodontist in their area. That's when you want to offer the virtual consult, right? So they click on a link, an ad, they're looking for an orthodontist right around the corner from where you are. They're in your neighborhood. They're in your target market. You want to offer them a way to engage with your practice right away. And we don't have Scott on tonight, Scott Hansen, but from Black Bison Group. But I mean, he's put out a lot of great information that tells you how much better your chances are of starting a case if you get to them right away. It's so important that you reach out to them as quickly as you possibly can, preferably within 3 to 5 minutes. Your chances of starting that increase dramatically.
All right. I had a good question from Eric. If there's going to be a second consult, what are the objectives of the virtual consult? Well, to be frank, on some cases, I can see everything I need to see and I know exactly what we're going to do. So I think in that way, you are effectively getting a full treatment plan out of it. And you can make those notes for yourself. Basically, we just need to, to double check, the next time they come in. Obviously, we're going to take the x-rays, look on that. Things could change. We know that. There could be a mesiodens or something. There could be random stuff. And then there are ones that are very complicated. And I have cases that I see physically where they're so complicated. I'm like, man, I'm going to need to see her back, or I need to see that case back. I need to ask for some help. So I don't think it's really all that different in that way. Obviously, your diagnostic capacity is much less virtually. However, what I would say, Eric, to your question, what's the objective of the virtual consult? It is to connect. It is to make an amazing first impression during a time where things are emotionally high, such that there's no way they're going to go anywhere else. They're going to want to come see you. And so if I'm able to see them virtually, make that connection, and yes, if they're able to sign a contract and commit to start with us when things go back to normal, which they will, then it's great. Why wouldn't I do that? And we have a lot of, second and third opinion type people. And, why would we not want to see them in the office? I'm going to ask Candace to start her video. We got to see you, Candace. This is a great headshot.
I don't know how it does that, actually.
There you are.
Know who added that. Hi.
So let me, that's a great headshot.
Hey.
Let me introduce Candace really quickly. And then I'll let Alex say a couple things. Candace and I went to dental school and orthodontics together. So she's had to deal with probably like 5 or 6 years of being around me. But I love Candace. And what you can't tell is that she is taller than I am. But she's one of my favorite people, the most optimistic person I've ever been around. And yes, even during dental school. But Alex, why don't you talk a little bit about why we're asking Candace on here?
Yeah. So you actually texted us last night. He and I were prepping for this show, and here comes a text to both of us from you. And, I don't want to read it, but I'd love for you to summarize basically what you said in that text.
Sure. So we obviously are in Tennessee and have been mandated to close our doors like a lot of people, and had never really entertained much the idea of doing anything virtual. But as soon as we got the news that we were not going to be seeing patients in person, my partner and I, it's unprecedented, really. So great to that. Our first objective was, how do we connect to the patients that are our active patients who we haven't seen for 6 to 8 weeks, and now they're supposed to come in tomorrow or the next day or whatever, and now we have to schedule them another almost month out. So now it's going to be 4 months since we've seen them, and we felt like we needed to do something to reach out to them and let them know that we're still here and can answer questions and we're monitoring their care, particularly when they're paying us every month and they haven't seen us in 4. So originally our intent was to do virtual stuff just with our current patients. And then we looked at the schedule and we had a bunch of new patient exams that were already on the books. And we said, let's just offer them a virtual consult. I was kind of skeptical. I thought nobody would take us up on it, but we're on day 3, I guess, of doing it. And of the maybe 8 to 10 that we've had scheduled each day, maybe 2 of them have not wanted to do a virtual consult, and all the others have been really open and willing. I mean, maybe it's because everyone else has nothing else to do. They're not going anywhere, but I've been really, really surprised at the number of new patients that have signed up and done their paperwork and put their down payment down, and they're anxious to get their braces on at the end of April when we can see patients without even ever having stepped into our office. So in addition to just the feedback we've gotten from our existing patients, when we've been doing mostly FaceTime calls with the photos that they send in, and we talk about brushing and elastics and all that sort of thing. And the parents and the patients have been super appreciative of us reaching out. And I think it places, some value in this time that we don't get to see them in person. But what really shocked me was the new patients, the exams. We had several moms of existing patients or people that had been in OBS for a long time that were ready to get started. And so they've actually, started treatment through a virtual consult. So the text message was, hey, thanks for the workflow, because I don't know that I would have taken the plunge without a little bit of guidance, and certainly not as quickly as we did it. But I guess necessity is the mother of invention. And so we went in, and it's been good so far.
And I don't want to gloss over the return on investment there, because we didn't charge you to implement virtual consultations or anything. I mean, your fees with us, and our clients know what the fees are. And if other people want to know, they can find out. But if you started, how many, 5, 6 of those have started virtually this week?
So what's today? Thursday. I think since the mandated closure, we have started with a down payment 8 patients.
8 patients. So, I mean, the production number on those 8 patients is about a 6x ROI on your spend with us. So I can't gloss over that enough. I mean, people, and this is just through virtual. I mean, imagine when this faucet's turned back on, you've got the built up demand. You've got, we're going to skip right over school. School's out. I hate to break it to you guys. Right. Your kids probably aren't going back to school. So summer's now. This is going to be your hot season. And you can look at it 2 ways. Oh, we're shut down. Gee shucks, we can't make any money. Or now's the time to implement these things into our practice, and then just be hitting even harder when we come back and the doors are open and we have an extended summer season here and that demand is on again.
So I got a question. Candace, will you do my virtual consults for me? I don't know that we've been that successful. So someone asked about incentives, and I think there's, probably 3 ways to approach this, because I do think it's a little bit of somewhat of a stretch, depending on what state you're in. And, if you're out till June 15th, hey, you want to get started today? It's a little bit harder than we'll be back in 2 or 3 weeks, which is what we're hoping for at this point, April 13th for Tennessee. So there's incentives. If you could do it like a freemium, like you offer some sort of free incentive for them to go ahead and commit to treatment. You could do no down payment and just start with the first monthly payment, which is what we've been doing, is just to say, hey, this first monthly payment will kick in, like in a week. And then, so it sort of catches up. It seems fair to us, but Candace is just doing a down payment. Now you could do like a discount off of treatment. I know people that have like doubled their pay in full discount. It just depends on what you need. You need cash? Well, then, double your pay in full. And there's some people out there that will take advantage of this. Again, this is only because we know it's going back to normal. Like if it was never going back to normal, well, then this would be deceptive and not fair. And obviously in any of these cases, if people change their mind, well, they can change their mind, and it's no different than any other situation. So, and no, I'm not doing scans. I'm not, I'm following the letter of the law. I closed exactly when they recommended. That's not what this is. This is trying to make the most of a difficult situation. Candace, any parting words before we let you go? You've done great.
Thanks. I think just to echo what you said, just getting those touches and connecting with people, even some of the people that didn't start, I FaceTimed with them and they showed me their dog and their kids, and, we chatted for a minute, and then, I gave them a rough treatment plan, just like you mentioned. Obviously we're going to take full records and x-rays and all that when they come into the office, but we were able, some cases you can look at it and know it's one single tooth. It's not going to be a full treatment. So you can kind of give them an idea of what to expect as far as cost. And I think people appreciate just getting the information so they can kind of plan for the future, for those that didn't start. And also, people that have siblings in the practice already, they already know you, and now they just want to kind of know, if their next child needs braces. So I think it's a great way just to reach out and stay connected to people. And I think eventually it will pay itself back in dividends because you've made the effort and connected to people, especially now when people can't come in,
Man, there are
Candace,
so
thanks
many
so
questions
much.
here.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah, Candace. Yeah,
I
I just want to thank you so much.
You make us look better.
Yeah, thank you so much for that testimonial.
Sure.
It's easy because Kyle talks about all the time. This happens. I started, and people are like, "Oh, yeah, it's Kyle, right?" But I mean, Candace, you've been working with us for a month now. 1 month into this relationship, and boom, these things are already happening. So this isn't meant to be a commercial for Neon Campus at all. This is meant to motivate you guys to let you know that these things are possible, that you just have to tackle it.
Also, she's we've been successful, but I've been talking to people that have just been more successful than we have at it. And I think it's just going to vary on your region and how shut down people are and how you explain it to them. I think there's a question about, does she use her TC or not? I don't know. Candace, you can type if you'd like, and there's a lot of questions. We're not going to be able to get to everything. And so I think what we'll do is we'll circle back. We'll come back to the Facebook and we'll answer any questions that you have there if they don't get answered tonight, because we want to keep this to about an hour. We use a TC. So my TC, again, the same approach that I take to virtual visits and also to physical visits is the same I take to consults. Is the TC does it's 10-80-10. I do the first 10%. I set up the policy or the standard or how we do it, the workflow. 80% is the TC doing all the heavy lifting, organizing the photos, sending the insurance information to our financial coordinator, getting that approved so that we have that information, sending me the treatment plan sheet and the photos that are in the patient chart. I treatment plan, send it back. She sets up the Zoom. She gets on the Zoom with the patient. I come in about 3 or 4 minutes afterwards after she's explained the initials, and then I do my 4 to 5 minute consult. And again, people love it. So if you've not done it, try it. And if you're out there and you have done it, you're probably asleep right now because you've already done this. And give it a try, and we'll have more questions come. I knew we'd have a lot of questions. Let's kind of switch gears, and because we don't want this to take all night. But I really appreciate Candace and appreciate all you guys with all the questions.
Great.
Social media. Let's talk about that. Let's shift into that. Let's do this kind of briefly, and maybe if we have some more time, we can come back to virtual visits and all that. But how should orthodontists? How should we be changing our social media right now? Should we be changing it? I guess.
Yeah, well, I think there's 2 things I want you to do with social media right now. One is don't be tone deaf, right? It seems pretty simple just to understand what's going out there and understand that all of your messaging on social media is going to be sandwiched between COVID-19 updates. Just don't be tone deaf. Share helpful information, share love, share what you guys are doing, share your family, share pictures of these things. And then also, rather than the money you've been using the target on Facebook, put $10 or $15 into every post that you make, just to make sure that it's not getting lost in the noise, that you're staying front of mind, and that you're sharing good, helpful information. These can be videos of how to take care of your braces, what not to eat, ideas of what to do while you're stuck at home. I mean, there's just a ton of content that you can be pumping out right now that you haven't had time to create before. So take this time. It doesn't have to be fancy. Just get out your phone, record yourself, have somebody else record you, and just be pumping out content that is based around you as a family, wrapping your arms around your community. That's where all the focus needs to be right now.
Yeah. So I've seen some bad social media right now. I had a post that I put up in the Digital Orthodontist last weekend from a dentist that's local, and she was, I don't want to go into the exact nature. I'm not trying to be overly critical, but I think the idea based on the news story is that they were promoting that they were open when other offices were closed. So obviously that is a bad look. And then they were, I think, saying that the incentive was you get a free roll of toilet paper or something. I think the toilet paper joke, like 5 days prior, would have probably been funny, but there is a time where what's funny becomes not funny. And so we've sort of made that turn. And so there's actually a blog, I put it up on the group too, with 6 steps for right now and how you adjust your social media. And you can look that up. We'll kind of briefly go through them. I think it summarizes some of the keys here, and then we'll shift on to some other things. But first step is to be quick to act. And to be honest, now 3 days later, 4 days later, whatever, you're a little late. And so if you've not made an announcement or told people, you're a little late. What I would say, I talked to a very smart person. I won't quote them on this, but What they said was, from a marketing perspective, with things like this, you want to be a day or two ahead if you can be. And so if you, like, as an example, and don't take this the wrong way, but if you know they're going to come and take your gloves and your jackets, why not give it away 2 days before? And you can benefit from that from a marketing perspective. I think more to the point of this point, though, is if you're going to close your office, let people know, immediately. Communicate very well, the same way that you should with your team. And good leaders communicate proactively and decisively. So be very clear about that, and use your social media. Feel free to use it even more, okay? And I think people really want to be communicated with right now. Patients are just as uncertain and feeling out of control as we are. And so they like to know things and to know more about it. Number 2, Alex, you want to take that one?
Yeah, we've talked about this, just not being tone deaf. You've got to be considerate of what your patients and your community are going through. And that's different for every community. If you're in New York, that is a lot different than maybe that it looks in Central Alabama or here in Tennessee. So you've got to be considerate of that. Your focus has got to be on your current patients, taking care of them, making sure that they know that you're wrapping your arms around them, that you're there for them as a community. Focus on those virtual services that you're providing, so they're not missing appointments, so there's no fear there. And then just any of your crisis management that you need to deal with. So if you've got emergency care that needs to be done in your office, talk about the sterilization processes that you're going through and how you're taking extra care to make sure their health is a priority in these times.
I think I'll jump to step 4, because we've talked about 3, I think, but step 4 is to try to help. Now, I think this is one of those things where we should help our communities because it's the right thing to do. But obviously we also do that to help build our brand and to help market and things like that, those are not dirty words, although market is a word that you should drink for. So drink, but try to help. And so reach out to community. You can make deeper connections with your audience. It's such an emotional time. I think it's a really great time to connect on an emotional level with your audience. And people do want to do business with brands that genuinely care. And so here's some ideas. You could set up a relief fund for those in your community affected by the virus. You can create educational content that will help your audience navigate or understand the crisis. I'll tell you who's done this so well is Grant Collins. So he's shifted his focus of his TikTok, which has already been educational, and he does a fantastic job. I mean, just an unbelievably fantastic job. But he shifted that towards now, what do I do if my office is closed down? And so nationally and internationally, people are able to get these answers, these questions answered by him through his TikTok, which is just fantastic. But you can do it on it. It doesn't have to be fancy. I mean, no one's going to be able to do it as well as Grant, but just to get that information out there and help people during this time. There's a lot of people with a lot of doubt. You think about teenagers and tweens right now. What are they thinking? Can you imagine? Like, what if you're a senior in high school and your prom's canceled and your graduation's canceled? So the last thing they should have to worry about is their braces or their aligners or whatever. So you can be there for them. The last thing would be, and you've seen a lot of offices doing this, is to donate your gloves, your jackets, things like that, and to get a photo of it. If you're not comfortable with that, there's a passage in the Bible about, not giving so that men see it. So that's a little bit of a conflict, because I do believe in that. However, as a practice, we still promote it and we get it out there. So we gave some gloves away yesterday. And then Alex, you want to kind of pick up with 6. And then we'll wrap this up.
It's just that you have to understand you've got to adapt right now. The books, Who Moved My Cheese comes to mind right now. I mean, that's one, or, if you don't evolve, you die. I mean, these things right now, it's the same thing happening in Neon Canvas. It's the reason that, we've announced this TDO live meeting. It's the reason we're pumping out so much content to you right now. We're busier than we've ever been taking care of our current clients, but we also understand that we've got to be here for the orthodontic community. You guys have to take that exact same approach to your patients. You've got to be there for them. You're leaders in your community, and now is the time that you can rise to the top and show that leadership and help people where they need to be helped, and really be, a positive voice in all this for people, a light at the end of the tunnel for them. And they're going to come back and you're going to impact lives. You're going to be changing, smiles and giving people everything that they want out of their personal and physical and health appearances from an orthodontic perspective. And you got to lean into that right now.
Yeah. I'm so ready to get back to that time. It's, it's like when you're a teenager and you're a week or 2 out of summer camp and you miss your crush and, you got your first letter from her. That's what it feels like right now. I miss orthodontics. I miss treating patients. Anybody feel me out there? Guess not. Okay.
Okay. So Kyle, before we jump into the end, I thought it'd be good to answer some of these open questions. If you thought we had 2-3 minutes to run through those.
Yeah. We'll probably skip over the little concert portion. I was looking at some of them. I did respond to some of them. I look very weird when I type. So I'm sorry about that.
It is tough. Yeah, we're
Let's
trying to answer
see.
everybody's questions. I'm monitoring.
Ryan
on
says, when your staff
Facebook
is doing the calls from home, are they logged into your practice management software? Yes, they are, and they're charting that. Let's see. Let me close those out. It's jumping around. Do you think patients or parents will be turned off by us if we're encouraging starting braces for the kids right now in this scary time? That's a great question. I think that goes along with this whole question of, are you being tone deaf? Is we are very clear. There is no pressure to start this right now. What we have found is most people just want to get it over with and just do it. They know they want to come see us. They know they want to start. And so, no, I'm not trying to pressure someone or take their last penny. That's not what this is at all. And everyone's affected by this a little bit differently. And some people are financially independent, and they're more than happy just to like cut out the needless, visit. And in fact, I think moving forward, virtual consults, virtual visits is something that we'll use strategically to help people who are busy. And so I think we're increasingly not up against, traditionally here, like, well, you're up against someone wanting to buy a boat or a hot tub. I think we're up against people who don't have enough time. And so they're having to budget their time more than ever. And so if you can do a consult for them in 15 minutes versus 50 minutes, then I think you stand in a great place. And then they could come back later when they're ready to actually start. I think it gets them the information they need much quicker. How are you working with insurance information to give accurate pricing to close contracts when a lot of the companies are closed for a few weeks? We've not had that experience, Bia, or I just don't know that that's an experience that my insurance financial coordinator has had. I think that could increasingly become an issue. That's not a bad idea. And so in that case, you just have to present it just like on those days where you're not able to get the insurance information. You just present it and say, hey, there could be some insurance that comes into this, but this is what the fee will be. Insurance could reduce it in a range of $1,000 to $2,500 or $3,000. That would affect your monthly this much, or you're down this much, or whatever. I just think you have to do the best you can and be very clear. And again, it's all about informed consent. This is not, an actual consultation in the sense that this is not everything. We got to do more, but I think people will really appreciate it. Okay, let's see. Great webinars, guys. Appreciate the love from Memphis. There you go, Michael. Yeah, I think this is good. So if staff has been let go and applied for unemployment, can all this work still get done? It's hard with 2 kids at home. I'm going to have to let you answer that. If they're still employed by you, I don't think it's so much work that they couldn't get it done, or that they couldn't carve out a day and work a week in advance on this and get it all kind of in the works. But obviously that's going to be, it's going to have to be something you have to work through. It depends on practice size, depends on what your team size is. Obviously it's working well for us, but we're keeping our team employed. So maybe it's a little bit different than it is.
And also, Kyle, I know one of the things we're doing is, we know people who have been in unfortunate situations where they need work right now. If we're an ability to help them, they're coming over, watching our kids, so that we understand we're really busy during the day trying to keep the company alive. We've got somebody there, helping with the kids, helping with their homeschooling. And maybe there's an opportunity for you guys to do some of that too. If they got to be let go into practice, there's 1 or 2 of them that can come into your home and start helping you there.
So I got another question. How does your TC show treatment? Does she have Typodonts at home? Okay, so she could take Typodonts home, or she could just look up photos of, braces and those sorts of things. She can share her screen. So when it actually gets to that point in the consultation where you would normally show the patient the contract, whether it's on an iPad because it's OrthoFi, or it's, on a piece of paper, or it's whatever, you just scribble it on a notepad or something. You can share your screen. And I think it is good to have a digital solution, whether that's AcceptX Pro, which is what we use, or OrthoFi, or there's like 18 dozen other ones, or you just use DocuSign. Just get DocuSign for probably a few bucks a month and just digitize your contracts. You just want some ability to do this digitally. Let's shift on into this, Alex. We got a couple more things, and we're going to announce our meeting, and I think people will want to stay for that because I'm very excited about the meeting, and I want you to be excited about it too. But let's do these really quickly. I think these are important questions that I get a lot. How should orthodontists adapt their Facebook ad strategies right now, specifically Facebook?
Yeah, and I've hinted on this a little bit, but let's get very practical right now. So the first thing you want to do is any ads that you're running, if you're running them to start new cases, you need to be talking about virtual. Obviously, they don't need to say, come into our office, or have any language like that. So they need to be edited, if you're running ads currently, as quickly as possible to shift over to the virtual console. I think that's the first thing you do with ads. Also, you could pare back some of that ad budget and spend it on boosting the posts that we talked about that are community engagement. People are leaning into family right now, or leaning into community. And with us all closed in our houses and unable able to connect. There's no better time than to use video and social to connect with your community. So, and if you're a business, Facebook is not just going to give you that organic reach. You've got to pay for it. So shift some of that ad budget, $10 or $15, into hitting that boost post button on Facebook. And the same thing with Instagram. There's a huge opportunity in Instagram right now for promoted posts. You should be doing that as well with everything that you post on social, $10 to $15.
Yeah. So it's all a question of budget and sort of what your goals are. And obviously, if you have no cash flow, that's a different answer than if you do have the cash flow. But I think, again, that idea that Warren Buffett says that when the market is down, that's the time to buy. And so I think it is a really great opportunity to market, and yes, in a tasteful way. But I will say that our advertisement for virtual consultations is done better than any other advertisement we've ever run. So obviously it's highly relevant. People are engaging with it like crazy, and they are scheduling consultations because of that. Doesn't mean you got to do it. You may fundamentally disagree with that, and you may have gotten on here tonight just to hate watch this. And to whoever that is out there, I'm sorry. This is the face that God gave me. I can't help it. But I do think it's important. I do think it's something that's helpful for our profession. What about Google ads? Is that a little different than Facebook ads, or the same thing?
You know, you've got to change your messaging. I think that's pretty obvious. The cool thing about Google is they do a lot of machine learning. So if you've got 5 or 6 different ads with different ad copy that you can put out there right now, some of them may mention, COVID-19 or virtual consults, and then let Google figure out over the next several weeks which of those ads are performing the best for you. But the important thing is to create those ads. And if you have any that are tone deaf or the message is not going to fall well for you right now, make sure you get those paused and turned off. I would not decrease my ad spend on Google right now. Again, those are people who are searching for you. They're looking for you. We want those clicks. We want that market share. Kyle hasn't touched his ad budget at all on Google, and he's seeing consults from that. We saw Candace just came on earlier and talked that she started 8 new patients already. So if you're spending $1,500, $2,000 on Google is a very, very healthy budget. That's more than most are spending, but you're getting 8 new cases just in a week. Off of that, the ROI is clearly there. So I would not turn off your Google ad budget right now. I would focus on those clicks, that market share that is looking for you.
Yeah, right on. Yeah, Candace asked if we could help with Google ad messages and or budget. Of course. Yeah, talk to your account manager. Let's shift on into this. This is our last segment of the night. We've had a great audience, probably the biggest audience we've ever had. I guess that's what shutting every orthodontist down in the nation does for an audience on a webinar. And honestly, I hope everyone's doing okay. I know this is like a stressful time, a very serious time. I know we're probably all a little bit over the webinar thing right now, but I do thank you for tuning in. And again, I did these live interviews first, so you have to be on here for mine, right? So let's talk about this though, because in doing these interviews for about a year and a half, and also in being a digital firm, we had landed on this idea of wanting to do a meeting, and we thought about doing a physical meeting. We thought about doing one in Memphis, and that would be a heck of a time, and maybe someday we will. And we've got other ideas, but obviously for us as a digital agency and having done these interviews, it was like, why don't we do something digital? Well, we talked about that, and then COVID happened. And so obviously that accelerated things. And so we're like, you know what, this is the time to do this. I think it's also the time to do this because we are so inundated, and I think I've said that word now 3 times, but we are so inundated with the negativity around this virus, and also the doubt and all the questions about what do we do with our team and how do we keep our business afloat and all that. And so I wanted to have a meeting, and Alex and I wanted to have a meeting that is focused on the good stuff. And also it's focused on mental health, and it's focused on how we get through this moment together, and that it's interactive. And so like what you've seen tonight, I think it's way better when it's interactive, when you can bring someone on, when you can answer questions live. It makes it more exciting. And so that's what we're going to be approaching, and to have some laughs together. I think it's okay to have a meeting that's not all so serious, and we'll have incredible speakers, but we'll also have some fun together. So this is going to be the first ever digital or virtual, so those are both drinking words, live and interactive meeting for orthodontists. You may have seen some of the speakers we've announced so far. To be honest, I made a list of the 4 or 5 speakers that I definitely wanted, and they all said yes. So thank you to any of you who are watching. But Cole Johnson, Amanda Gallagher, Anil Adikula, Grant Collins, David Sarver, some of the most motivational and inspirational people that I know, and they're all on for this meeting. And they're not going to be doing your typical 50 minutes and slides kind of lectures. It's going to be kind of a hybrid of them speaking for a while, but directly to you with me kind of facilitating. So sort of like if you're used to this show, sort of like that, but also being able to answer questions on the spot and come to a consensus together, which I think is very exciting. And not to say that other lecture, styles are bad or conference styles are bad, but this is just something that I think will be very different and something that we really need right now. And so let's talk a little bit about the topics. And some of these I have not announced yet, and we are about to announce something really big right after this. But Cole is going to talk about the cyclical nature of life and only the way that Cole can. Anil is going to talk about what it means to be calm and truly calm in the midst of the storm. Amanda is going to discuss, it's a Simon Sinek idea, but how leaders eat last, which I think is really important right now. Grant's going to talk about social media and how he uses it as a megaphone for positive change in his local environment and also, I think, globally. And then David Sarver, who, again, I'm so thankful to have on this meeting. I've looked up to David my whole career, literally. One of the first names I learned is Prophet and Sarver and a couple others. He's going to give us a historical perspective on why COVID-19 is not the end of the world. He's lived through a lot. He's lived through multiple recessions. He's lived through 9/11, and he's going to share that perspective with us. And then we have some other speakers, if Alex will pick up.
Yeah, we've got just incredible relationships. We're so lucky to have the relationships that we have in the orthodontic community. I just feel blessed to be a part of it. So the guys at the Mother of Pearls group, Chris Teeters and Brian Anderson, are going to be bringing us, 12 minutes of pearls, lifestyle on Brian, and Chris is going to have some really good content from the Orthodontic Pearls guys. One I'm probably more excited about than anything because I've gotten to know this guy on a personal level. He's a client of ours, and just one of the kindest, most gentle and humorous individuals that I've ever had the pleasure to be around, and that's Curvin Mack. I'm really excited about that. He's going to be talking about exercise and how it's literally changed his life, and obviously we've all got plenty of time to be doing that right now. Amanda Floyd is going to be talking about how to keep your team together while apart, and then our good friend Glenn Krieger, who we would not put on anything without Glenn. We love him so much, and he's going to talk about something, and it's going to be good. I can guarantee that.
Yeah, Glenn didn't give me his topic yet. So Glenn, it's a mystery topic, and I cannot wait to see what it is, but it'll be great. And we'll probably just sit around together and just talk about what we've learned that weekend, but it'll be awesome.
And so when I first started, talking to Kyle about this meeting and we were talking about guests, I'm just like, I'm listing off all my favorite consultants, right? And I'm thinking, we're just going to kill with that. And then he's like, yeah, we've got some great doctors too. So Kyle really focused on reeling in the doctors, and he's got great relationships with these consultants. But these are consultants that we work with on a day-to-day basis, and we know how much information and knowledge they have. Most of the times you guys are paying these people to help you in the practice. We've got them all to come in here and help you in this meeting, and they're going to be incredible. Leanne Panici, who we love so much, she's going to share multiple tips on how we're going to bounce back from all this. She's been at it for a while. I think she started when she was 18 in here, so maybe 30 years. I know she's only – yeah, 20. No, I'm 28. She's 28. I think that's the right number. Jill Allen, she's going to be giving a lecture focused on small practices. Jill helps so many practices get started from the ground up. You've heard of Jill. You love Jill. We all love Jill, and she's going to be a huge benefit. Chris Benston, who is probably the best, if not the best, one of the best business minds of understanding what's going on in the orthodontic community. He's going to be talking about how things are going to change for docs in all different categories. I think that's the one where I'm so excited about the Q&A, because you guys should have a lot of questions for Chris, and he'll be able to bounce a lot of stuff off of you. And then, of course, we mentioned Scott Hansen earlier. He's going to talk about how to lead like a CEO. Scott grew a company in the orthodontic space and even grew it outside of that in less than 4 years from $0 to $10 million. Is really an incredible story. And he's going to be here to help us talk about that. And then my favorite, your favorite, everybody's favorite, Mary Dunn. She's always saving us lots of money with her group and giving us tons of good advice. And so she's going to have a 10-minute video for us on 20 ways to save money on supplies. So high yield. This is definitely going to be one you don't want to miss as you're all looking at how to save practice. So that's the rundown.
I had to have Chris Benson because I always tell him he's my surrogate father in the orthodontic world. Glenn has just told me what his lecture title is going to be, is Building Your Tribe. That's how Glenn gets it in, via Facebook Messenger during a meeting where we're announcing it. Building Your Tribe. Or, according to the website we're about to tell you about, Falling on Our Swords, which is what I picked for him because he had a really good blog topic on that. Glenn, you have like 19 good ideas a day. So you'll just pick whatever idea you like the most that day and you'll talk about it. And that is one thing about this meeting is because it's digital, we're very nimble. And so we can make changes on the fly and things like that. Mary Dunn's probably like my surrogate mother in the orthodontic world. So Chris and Mary, my surrogate parents. Also, I'm very excited to announce Relapse will be debuting a music video, God willing, at this meeting. So that's something to get excited about. And if you can believe it, there are still some more speakers to come. So here's the big question. When is the date? And I hope you're available, and I hope you don't have anything going on. But it's going to be Thursday, April 23rd at night. So it'll be like 6:30 to 9:30. All right, we got to play for all time zones. But and then it's going to be a full day Friday, April 24th. 10 hours of CE is what we're shooting for. And it's going to cost, because there's going to be a cost to put this meeting on. We tried to land on a cost to be very sensitive to everyone right now, and one that we felt like would be a no-brainer to do it, and right in line there with like a pay-per-view event, okay? And for a day and a half, 10 hours of CE and all these speakers, we think it's very, very fair. And it's going to be $99 for doctors, okay? It's going to be $79 for staff. So $99, $79, $100 for a day and a half together. We're going to have experts from Zoom on there to make sure that it goes well, that there's no technical issues. Although I got to say, we did a pretty good job ourselves tonight. And here's the biggest news. Registration is live now. Go ahead. Oh, you're pointing. Yeah, it's live
like
now.
Type into your computers right now.
Type it right now. It's tdolive.com. So the digital orthodontist, but really you need to type tdolive.com. And for the next 24 hours, for those of you watching, there's going to be a 50% off early bird discount. So if $100 seemed like a lot, and I see someone, how much for residents? Well, Monica, use the early bird code because it's going to be $50 for you. And I think $50, pretty much all of us can do that, I hope. It's also free for Neon Canvas clients, so don't go register. We'll get that to you. But $50 for doctors, and it's going to be even less, whatever 50% of $79 is, I guess, right at $40 for staff. And that discount code is early bird. So you can go to tdolive.com. Let's make this meeting amazing. Let's make it a huge meeting. I want to see everyone there. And I want it to be, someone said that's very generous of you. We don't know what to expect. You know, as you charge for a meeting like this, it costs a lot to put a meeting, even a digital meeting on. Thank goodness we don't have to deal with craft services and catering. But $99 to me seems like a no-brainer. And go out right now. You get 24 hours for $50 to come to this meeting. We will definitely make it worth it. I promise you it will be the best meeting you've been to. And there's some great meetings in orthodontics I don't mean to take away, but it's going to be really cool. Go ahead, Alex.
Well, I'm pretty sure we're going to make this on demand too. I think that's something very important. So if you're worried about not registering because, you're going to be busy at that time, don't worry about that. It's going to be on demand. If you register, you're going to be able to get this content. So it's unbelievable. I think the other thing that's important that Kyle, that you mentioned is that we're working directly with Zoom here. So, we're knee deep in this. This is going to be a very high level of production. You guys expect the best from us. We're going to give you the best. And we are really, really looking forward to this event. We really couldn't have gotten it off soon enough. We wanted to do it next week if we could. We needed time to pull all this together to get the speakers and to build the ecosystem around this. But we cannot wait for this, and we expect it'll be one of the largest orthodontic meetings that has ever taken place. There's no barrier of entry here. We've made it as little, costing as little money as possible. It's going to be on demand. You can join it from anywhere in the world, and we hope that everybody spreads the word. Bring your staff. And if there's something that you need from us where, for some reason you can't join it and you need to get a coupon code from us or whatever to make sure that you're there, just get there and tell everybody because it's going to be amazing.
Yeah, reach out to us. I see a couple people asking about resident pricing. I guess I would say $50 seems pretty fair. But if for some reason that's not fair enough, message me.
Yeah.
We want everybody there. We want thousands of people on this thing. So 24 hours, $50. John Nista said it was ridiculously fair. John Nista sent me some deli meat once from like Philadelphia. It was very kind of him. Thank you, John.
He spent more than $99 shipping that deli meat to you. I
was going to say that deli meat costs more than that. So here's the deal. We're going to do our TDO top 5. If you're a longtime watcher of this show, we do a TDO top 5. I'm going to do that 15 seconds or less. You know the rules. If you weren't a digital marketer, Alex, what would you be?
I would be trying to become a Supreme Court justice. I'd probably have to button my top button and maybe get rid of couple of these tattoos. Little known fact, I actually sent the Supreme Court justice a letter when I was a kid asking them if any of them had tattoos because my mom was trying to talk me out of getting one. And I got a letter back from them and it's unconfirmed. No. Confirmed.
Unconfirmed. I think there's a good chance that Ruth Bader Ginsburg has a tattoo, but I don't know. I can't know that for sure. All right, so let's see. Whoever said this, Elizabeth, that your price is whatever. You must have put in a lot of different doctors. It said something about minus 1188 or something. And if we're having issues, surely we're not having issues with the website yet. It was working great today, but you probably just put in too many attendees, like 12 attendees, and that's the money that you'd be saving. All right, second question. In 2 to 3 words, what's your favorite thing about working with orthodontists?
Impacting lives. I mean, that's 2 to 3 words, right? It's amazing. It's amazing what the profession does day in and day out across practices all across America, changing lives. And I just love being a part of it. It's a blessing.
Glenn got in a great joke, and I have to repeat it. If you weren't a digital marketer, what would you be? He'd say he'd be Kid Rock. I love that. You do have an uncanny resemblance for Kid Rock. I love Kid Rock. All right, number 3. What's the
ba
with the ba, baby? What's the one thing you wish you had known sooner as a business owner?
Wow. Yeah. How quickly could things change? I mean, we're just ticking along, growing this company, and then 3 weeks ago, and now everything has changed so quickly. So things can change so fast. I wish I'd have known that. I wish I'd have been able to predict that. And then maybe we would have been even more prepared. But I still think even with what we were hit, we saw this coming, Kyle, and we started prepping before the shutdowns and all this happened. We started prepping the virtual consult piece for our clients a week before they even knew they were going to need it. So we had it ready to roll out, and we've given it to 90 plus clients in 2 weeks. I'm so incredibly proud of that.
Yeah, it's great. Biggest influence and why?
It's definitely Gary Vaynerchuk. I read Crush It. It was one of the first, digital marketing, you can do it, entrepreneur books that I had read and resonated with me. And I got right into digital marketing. Not only did I take Gary's passion for doing what you love, but he also loves digital marketing. I happen to love the same thing. And so Gary Vaynerchuk has really guided a lot of the principles of the things we do.
Yeah, love Gary.
Second would be StoryBrand and Donald Miller. I'd like to mention that. StoryBrand is a huge piece of what Neon Canvas does. We're all trained StoryBrand guides. We don't pump it as our, under their umbrella, but it's something important to us.
Yeah, right on. And lastly, what do you want to be remembered by? What do you want your legacy to be?
A great dad. I got 4 amazing kids, and I just want to give them the world, give them everything, and I hope that people look back and think that he was a hell of a dad.
That's great. Well, it's that time of the show to close, and I want to thank Alex Rasmussen. I see Alex and talk to Alex almost every day, but I want to thank him for coming on tonight's show. We're going to clap it up for him. Yeah. And, of course, we want you to be at the TDO Live Meeting 2020. It's going to be Thursday, April 23rd, and Friday, April 24th on Zoom. 20 amazing speakers, completely live and interactive like no meeting before. TDOlive.com. The discount code is EARLYBIRD. If you have any issues, just message me. We'll get it figured out for you. And don't forget to register your staff. I think this is a great opportunity to get your staff there for like $40 a piece. So bring your whole staff. I think they'll really enjoy it. We're going to make sure that the messaging, it's going to be a single track, but that it's going to be good for both staff and for doctors. I want to thank everyone who listens to this on Apple Podcasts. You could be watching this later on Apple Podcasts. If you could give us a 5-star review, we would really appreciate it. I know there have been a lot of webinars lately. So again, I hope that this has provided you value, and I hope that you will join us on the TDO Live Meeting.
Dozens of registrations already. I'm seeing them coming in. So
Great.
It looks like everything's working, and dozens of you, hundreds, it looks like thousands. Keep them coming, y'all.
There have been 75,000 registrations already, if you can believe that. No, I'm just kidding.
Tell a friend. Tell a friend.
It's amazing. Yeah, tell a friend.
We've worked so hard on this. Yeah, we've worked so hard on it. Kyle is such a megaphone for the profession, and this is going to be a killer event. I can promise you that.
Yeah, I haven't worked this hard since dental school, and I plan to get my weight down even more before the actual event. I'm going to be like svelte before I get out there. Is that Yiddish, Glenn? Is svelte? That sounds Yiddish to me. I don't know. So that's all we got. So from all of us here at the Digital Orthodontist Live, I'm Dr. Kyle Fagala signing off. Here's our theme song. You know it. You love it. Listen to that bass guitar, huh? Get that lead bass.
I got drinking to catch up on.
Yeah, I missed a couple of the drinks, and sorry if you're out there hoping for more. You got your scotch, you got your brandy. We didn't say enough digital, virtual marketing, whatever. It's unprecedented how many times we didn't say digital.
It was good to see you. We should talk more often.
You and me? Yeah, right.
I've spoken on the phone with Kyle Fagler more than any other human combined in my life.
That's probably true. You're in my favorites list. All right, so TDOlive.com. Go do your thing. I'm going to go eat some food and get some
Good
sleep.
night, everybody.
Good night,
Thank you so
everybody.
much.
We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.